Hey, John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I got a question about Scrum and Agile for all of you Scrum Agile people out there. I haven't answered one of these kind of questions or talked about this very much on this channel. So this question is from David, and David says, "Hi, John. I've recently started looking at your site a little more. I did have a question regarding Scrum. In my organization, I am over, as a manager, 3 developers that each work on separate projects. I was told by a Scrum Master that Scrum would not be a best choice for a company structure. He suggested implementing some Agile practices, but not Scrum. In his organization, he is part of a group of 7 developers, and they all work on one product, so Scrum was a good choice for them. What approach would you recommend for my structure? Waterfall, some Agile? We currently have 2 web application projects that we have been working on for the last couple of years, and we're having to maintain existing code and or adding new features." So that's a good question. You know, I think there's a point where your team is a certain size where it doesn't make sense to have too much process, right? Here's what I would recommend. So take the 3 developers that you have that are working on separate things and put them on one team, right? If you've got 3 separate developers working on separate projects, you'll probably have a little bit more success, and you'll be able to implement something like Scrum or an Agile methodology by putting them all in one team working together, and then sort of splitting the responsibilities. Maybe each one of those developers has a certain focus area where they focus on, you know, the thing that they're currently working on, so they're the kind of expert or subject matter expert in that particular area, but they should all work together on getting things done, as opposed to working in silos, because they'll be able to benefit from a little bit of mixing of different thoughts there, of also kind of the teamwork aspect. When you're all working separately, you're not going to be able to really organize anything in any kind of agile way, because it's just not going to make sense, right? Everyone's working their own priorities. It's not going to, you're never going to have that team effect. And agile is all about creating teams and getting that kind of efficiency of working together and not having like particular roles. Like it's a one kind of self-organizing team that has this kind of role. So that's what I would really recommend is I wouldn't worry so much about the Scrum Agile thing. If you want to do Scrum, it's not going to work if they're all separate. But if you put 3 people on a team together, or 4 people if you're the team lead, and maybe you'd become the Scrum Master or something like that. It's kind of weird with Agile teams. You sort of don't really have, quote, a lead anymore. So, you know, it's not to say that there's not someone who's more experienced that kind of guides the team, but you kind of have more of an equal footing. So that's another thing to consider with something like that. But I would recommend taking everyone, putting them on one team, running it through a process like Scrum or some other agile process, and having everyone have the same priorities, having everyone working together if you want to do something like this. Otherwise, you know, you can't do this. Otherwise, the answer is no. Don't even waste your time. Don't even look at an agile process. If you're going to have the developers work on separate projects, they've got nothing in common. They've got no reason to talk together. They've got no reason to work through this kind of a system, because it's not going to make sense. They're going to be more efficient on their own rather than you bringing in this kind of forced structure that doesn't make sense. So either put them all together on the same team, same priorities, maybe have experts in different areas, or just leave things how they are and don't mess with them. But don't do some kind of hybrid type of thing where you're just going to regret it later on. So good question. I think, you know, for any small team, this is something that definitely comes up in small software development shops. And like I said, I always recommend getting multiple people working together. You know, doing some pair programming, things like that, where you know, teamwork usually results in a better result than just people working solo in silos. Anyway, hopefully that helps you, David, and thanks for the question. If you have a question for me, email me at john@simpleprogrammer.com, and if you like these videos, subscribe. Take care.